Hello everybody, Balian here, and today I'm going to be taking you through the top 5 changes from the new patch 7.0 for UFC 4. Now 7.0 has brought a massive amount of changes into the game, new animations, new tweaks and changes to the systems, there's a couple of new fighters, lots of stuff to get excited for, and while you can view the whole patch notes right here online, and I'll leave a link in the description to that, there are a few key changes I think that have really helped round out the game and improve it in a number of ways. Now these are my personal top 5, you might enjoy different aspects of them a little more, but I'd like to think that these apply to a lot of people, or the player base as a whole, in being the 5 biggest changes that we can all go forward and enjoy. Number 5, increase the permanent stamina cost of transitions. This is a wonderful addition to the game. If you're like me and you grapple, some people grapple sometimes, some people never grapple. I grapple occasionally when it suits me, but this is a big change because it means all transitions that you use on the ground will now cost 50% more stamina. That's for people on the top and that's for people on the bottom. So if you're very good at controlling on the top and you deny a lot of transitions, which I feel like is part of my game, but I also felt like I wasn't getting rewarded enough for that. You know, stamina difference stayed a lot the same regardless of how many times I denied someone from getting up or moving. So the more you deny people now, the bigger hit it will take to their stamina, because they will pay the transition cost, but of course they are not going to they're not going to get the benefit of the position, and also the denies will start to build and build and build. Now this is a nice change, a nice tweak, I think absolutely necessary. Really on the ground you're not rewarded enough for denying your opponent's attempts to get up. And also if you're on the bottom, and maybe you're trying to be a bit more passive, you can deny them advancing and still get a bit of a stamina lead from that as well, and then find your get up when you need to. So it punishes people who are overactive on the ground and get their transitions denied. So I think this is a great change. It'll help round out the ground game, and you can really use it to your advantage. If you're going to try and wear a fighter out, you can take them down, deny the transitions and work from there. So I think this is a great change. Number 4, new stand-up blocking animations. They've added a bunch of new animations for blocking into the game. They're nice, they're kind of subtle, but they do look a lot more realistic, a bit more reactive to the shots that are coming in against the specific fighters. It kind of feels less arcadey in terms of a system, and they've boosted the block break as well, which we'll talk about in the next one, but that kind of go in hand with this, I think. So this is a nice little change, very subtle, very nice, but it looks a lot better, and it's nice to see just some more animations being worked on throughout the course of the game. Number 3, decreased block breakdown. So the block has been increased by 15%, I believe is the number that they quoted. And this is a fantastic change. I know a lot of people were very unhappy with the block breaking system. It really became, some people used it, some people didn't, but the highest levels of players could really just swarm you and just beat your block up, and you would have no chance. It's very hard to counterfight out of that as well. But now 15% extra increase to the block. It's a marginal enough change that I feel like you have the extra time to punish someone. If they beat your block down, it's going to take them longer to do it, so they'll use up more stamina doing it, and then you're able to find home for your counter shots as they're retreating after burning stamina for attacking you. And it also helps to stop certain things like the head kicks and things like that used to bleed through. There's less chance of them bleeding through. Those have also been adjusted as well, down by 10%, so there's less bleed through on big damaging strikes like that. You can have your block up a little bit longer, and it also just gives you a bit more defensive options. I think it's a nice change, and I think it'll definitely help counter some of the aggressive styles that's very popular in this game at the moment. Number 2, footwork stamina threshold becoming more dynamic. So what's happened with this basically is that there was a certain threshold previously where your fighter would start to do plodding footwork, as it's known. It's kind of like a fatigued movement. This has now been tweaked, so it happens at a much lower rate, based on your stamina and also on your leg health. So if you've lost leg health and if your stamina is low, the chances of you entering a fatigued state or moving a lot slower have basically increased, or they happen at an earlier stage in the fight. So you can really take advantage of leg kicks, really try and burn out the stamina of your opponent, and have that much more of effect on the fight. This is great because it gives people who like to play a long time strategy, who like to counter those who are aggressive early, a much better chance of getting themselves into the fight, especially later, because a lot of the times you would maybe weather the early storm, but you would take so much damage and they would slow down very little regardless of a loss of stamina, or even if you put some time into something like leg kicks. Now this is not the case. They will slow down, your opponent will be fatigued and move slower based on their remaining stamina as well as their leg kicks. or leg kick damage. This has also been plays nicely with the change to max starting stamina from cardio, and also there's been some changes to the weight classes and how much stamina that weight classes have as well. So that's all going to play in together and work through quite nicely. And number 1, tuned stamina recovery. This is a great change. It basically means the higher your stamina, the slower it is to recover. So it sounds a little bit opposite, but when you think about the theory behind it, essentially at the start of the fight when you're fresh, yes, you can throw more punches, but you'll have to wait longer between those bursts, and it basically helps mitigate a lot of players who maybe don't know how to manage their stamina so well, because obviously the game has to cater to all audiences, and this is a nice change that helps the elite players and the basic players, because a basic player might burn all their stamina and then find themselves gassing and not really understanding why, but now they'll have to slow down their offense early purposefully because their stamina will generate slower, so they won't find themselves overthrowing, because it's harder to now overthrow because you have less stamina to work with because it regenerates slower. I hope that makes sense to you. Essentially, they've put a restriction on how many strikes you can throw at the start of a fight by reducing how quickly your stamina recovers, and then your stamina is going to degrade faster based on the other changes. You'll be able to throw less. It's a nice change, and it really will help. I mean, I've already felt it a lot. It will help slow down players, and players who throw early can have to throw less, and people who throw early get punished late as well. There's been some few other changes. Shout outs to a few things. There's been changes and fixes to the single leg bail takedowns. Now you need a 30% stamina advantage in order to execute that, so that takes that away as a strategy that's available all the time. You can still use it, but it's not something you can just hit over and over again. There has to be a stamina difference. They've tweaked the recovery on knockdown resistances between rounds. That means less knockdowns will occur before the fight is over. So in between rounds, your resistance to knockdowns used to regenerate a lot higher than it does now. So if you've been knocked down a lot, you're more likely to get knocked down again following the coming out of a round. So that should help continuous knockdowns before ending the fight. And then, of course, as well, a nice new touch is the calf kick animation that has been added as well. This doesn't make the top 5. It's a nice change, but it doesn't really affect the overall game. It's just a new animation for the kicks. They do look nice, but there we go. Alright guys, thank you very much. Nice and short, nice and brief. I hope you've enjoyed the new patch and all the changes it brings. There's still a lot of things I would like to work on and suggest to have changed. I do make those suggestions in the Game Changers chat when I can as well. But as a community, I think our ideas are being heard, and we're slowly moving towards a more realistic game, but a game that we can all enjoy as well, hopefully. Alright, thank you very much. Get out there, get some fights in, enjoy 7.0, enjoy the fights this weekend. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.